Hi, I'm Aoibheann and I'm here in Stormont Buildings today interviewing Junior Minister Jeffrey Donaldson. Last month we heard you were in Wales. What were you doing there and how will what you were doing there benefit young people?
Well, we were in Cardiff for the British Irish Council meeting, but being there I took the opportunity to look at what the Welsh Assembly are doing in terms of working with young people, and I met representatives from the Funky Dragon, which is the Welsh Youth Assembly. And I was really impressed with the work that they're doing there, with the level of participation that they've been able to gain, both at local level, in schools, councils, at regional level, interfacing with the local government and the local councils in Wales, and also then at the regional assembly level, the Welsh Assembly. And I think there are examples that we can draw on, there are lessons that we can learn from the Welsh experience and apply them to Northern Ireland in terms of taking the debate forward on how we should structure our youth services and whether or not we should have, for example, our own youth assembly.
WIMPS have been campaigning for a youth assembly. Would you be supportive of this?
I think that a youth assembly and the concept of young people becoming more involved in politics is something that we do need to consider very carefully. Of course, a youth assembly is only one example, one option of how that might be done, but I think it's a good example, and drawing on the experience of the debate we had in the Assembly chamber last year with 140 young people participating in that debate. They were very enthusiastic and the feedback we got was very positive. But you know, before we finalise those arrangements, I think we also need to look at what's happening at local level, in the schools, for example. I mean, it's good to have something like a regional structure, something like a youth assembly, but if you don't have the representative participation at local level, then the difficulty is it's a select few who get involved at regional level, and you don't then get the feedback down onto the ground in local schools, in local communities. So I think we need to look at our structure. Should we have schools councils? Should that be something that's put on a statutory basis? The Children's Commissioners Youth Panel has done a lot of work on that, as I know have the Northern Ireland Youth Forum. Should we have regional youth groups linking into the new councils, the 11 new councils that are being created in Northern Ireland, and how should that be structured? And then, of course, thirdly, the issue of some sort of regional representation, perhaps in the form of a youth assembly.
Most people use social networking sites. How do you feel about politicians using them to interact with voters?
It's a very good question, and only recently I set up my own Facebook site because I felt it was important to be available for people. And let's face it, if that's where people are, and you know, and lots of young people use social networking tools like Facebook, then politicians should be there as well, not to interfere, not to kind of dominate those networks, but just to be there as, you know, to interact with other people, to hear their views. And I have to say, even in the few weeks that I've been on Facebook, I've met lots of people who are very interested in politics, young people in particular, and who otherwise wouldn't have contact with a politician on a regular basis. And it's been useful to hear their views, to have some understanding of what they feel. And recently, in the aftermath of the incidents that we had where the two soldiers and the policeman were killed in Northern Ireland, there was a huge reaction amongst young people on the social networking sites, and particularly Facebook. And I must say, a very positive reaction, basically saying that they don't want this to happen, they don't want this to be the future, they don't want to be dragged back to the past. And it was useful for me as a politician to hear that from our young people. It was also very encouraging.
How do you relax and unwind?
Doing interviews like this, I guess. Walking, reading, watching the television, and just, you know, slouching about at the weekend. No, I don't get a lot of opportunity to relax as much as I would like to. I like to travel a lot, and my work, I'm very fortunate that in my work I get to travel. I like to meet people, see new places, and that's good. And I also enjoy getting involved in meeting young people as well. That's been a very important part of what I do in my job as a minister, and I must say that's one of the more relaxing aspects of my work. Visiting schools is a big thing. I really enjoy getting out to visit schools in my own constituency and in other areas.
What music did you listen to when you were younger, and what about now?
Confession time. I was a big fan of the Jam. You probably haven't heard of the Jam because they're before your time. But the Jam was a big group in my days, and I was a big fan of theirs. Nowadays, pretty much anything. You know, driving in the car, switch the radio on. There's some music, I have to say, I find a bit difficult to listen to. Contrary to popular myth, I am not a big fan of Daniel O'Donnell's, but I like pretty much anything.